Good morning, dear students. Talking to you after quite some time. I hope all of you are fine by the current circumstances. Okay. Few topics of your syllabus are still left to be taken up. Fine. So today we'll talk about writing for magazines. Okay. Now, what is a magazine? A magazine is the original word magazine. You may have heard also in firearms, in rifles where they put the bullet into the rifle. That is also called the magazine chamber. Fine. That means it's a storehouse of powerful information. Actually, in literally, if you translate, just magazine is a storehouse of information, important information. Okay, power. Now, how does it differ with day-to-day or daily newspapers or journals? A magazine differs with a daily or weekly in a sense that, particularly with the daily, that dailies are dealing with day-to-day activities which are happening all over the world, which are very important for us to know about and which can affect our lives in a future or at present, anytime. On the other hand, a magazine deals with in-depth analysis of day-to-day happenings if they are leading to some specific issues or specific developments in the coming days or anytime. For example, we talked about election, as election was held in Assam as well as 4 other states as well as union territories of the country recently in the month of April. Now, in day-to-day newspaper reporting, we have seen that today these candidates have spoken in such a way about their campaign, their manifesto, their objectives for winning the elections. Then Congress has given, I think, some sankalpas that we are, sankalpa means the promises that we are going to do this. BJP has given 10, I think, objectives that we will do this once we come to power, etc. So these are day-to-day happenings that today so many prominent personalities, sitting MLAs, MPs have submitted their nomination papers, etc. etc. Today, Communist Party has released their manifesto, AJP has released their manifesto, etc. On the other hand, in a magazine, you can expect the editors or the reporters or the magazine organization to be reporting, to be analyzing the mood of the public, how people are expected to go for voting and what are the possible important agendas or important issues which are supposed to be taking and which are supposed to be going to have an impact on the election process in the coming days or after the elections. Then again, depending upon the Mohajot, depending upon the alliances, 2 major alliances were formed in Assam. How they're going to form, how this formation of Mohajot or the other alliances is going to have an impact on the voting outcome, the people voting for which party will be reflected, as well as after the elections are over, what can be a possible scenario of which party is getting power and which party is getting majority and which parties may not be getting majority, and how the government formation will be effective. Okay, this is in-depth analysis. Then again, last almost 1.5 years we are going through the major crisis of mankind in a new century, that is coronavirus issue. Now, on a day-to-day basis, if you look at the newspapers or magazines, not magazines, if you look at the newspapers and day-to-day news channels, whether it is Assamese or whether it is radio channels or whether it is TV channels or even web channels, you will be flooded with numbers that today the total fatalities were, total number of deaths because of COVID was this much, and so many thousands of people contracted this virus, today in a fresh way, etc., etc. Every day a figure is coming out. Sometimes you will notice that some newspapers are saying that the figure is slightly showing slightly downward trend, or I mean that is decreasing trend, or sometimes they will say no, it is showing an increasing trend, etc. Or sometimes they will say it is flat, neither growing neither coming down. Okay, so on the other hand, in a magazine, you can expect to find how the entire development is happening. One very prominent person has said that journalism or day-to-day reporting is history in a hurry. Now, the magazines, they are supposed to analyze such developments on a day-to-day basis or monthly basis and come out with a possible future scenario and possible analysis of the current scenario, why this is happening, what it is going to happen, which way it is going to take place in the coming 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, etc. Then many other issues, say for example, even for coronavirus disease, COVID-19 issue, some related or associated issues do come up. When your entire lifestyle is affected and the entire society is affected, each and every aspect of your life is also affected. For example, education. We are directly dealing with education. You are our students. We are the service providers. We have our children, own children, as well as you are also our children. Fine. So we have to take care of your education in the best possible way out of an adverse situation. So a magazine is also supposed to analyze or put forward the best possible ways or alternatives which can be tried out or experimented by all the people who are related to it, say education planners, educationists, even the children who are taking, who are being educated, etc. How a best possible solution can come up. Okay. So that way, any kind of any kind of issues, because media, I have already told you, media is such an overwhelming entity or presence in our life. It affects or it influences each and every aspect of our life. Fine. Our transition from old days to modern days, the behavior of our children or anybody else, how the society, then the generation gap, so-called generation gap, which we always said that our days were different, your days are different. It will be a cyclical process happening always. Fine. Similarly, magazine is also a very much important part of the mass media activity, the domain. So it is also supposed to or expected to take into account contents which are very much important for us as well as related to us. Okay. Now, if we talk about India, you must have been very familiar with India Today, Frontline, Outlook, Week, etc. Frontline is the national magazine of India. I am saying, they claim it is the national magazine of India. In fact, it is published by the Hindu group of publications. They also say, the Hindu newspaper also claims that it is the national newspaper of the country. India Today itself is a group. Now they have news channels, TV channels, etc. Then Outlook is a group itself. The Week is published from the Monorama group of newspapers, which is a very established organization in Kerala and in the South, in the regional language media of the country. They are very powerful. At one point of time, I used to look at all these magazines regularly. Of course, there are so many other magazines also in different languages as well as English and Hindi. But these are a few ones which are very prominent all over the country. That's why I'm talking about them. Don't think that I'm doing an advertisement for them. Right? What I'm saying is, this is absolutely my personal opinion. Frontline, it always goes for important events to look into on a proper basis. From in recent issues, I remember they have given an extensive, not recently, about 6 months or 1 year back, they have given extensive analysis of the Citizenship Amendment Act, the National Register for Citizens issue, etc. And whenever something important comes up, they do take it up. I mean, something which has long-term impact for the society in political, socio-political or economic terms, etc. Okay. Or which affects any aspect of our life, including art and literature, stories, etc. In fact, about 2-3 years back, I came to know about a very interesting development, that is, Frontline has given a series of articles by which they have shown very effectively that in Japan, as part of the Buddhist philosophy as well as religious practices, some of the deities which they worship or which they give very pride of place are actually Hindu deities, say Lakshmi and I think Ganesh also, but I don't recall exactly. But Lakshmi and Saraswati, I think, were prominent there. So this was quite an eye-opening thing for me. I could never imagine that. India Today, which I used to read quite a lot earlier, they are also a normal magazine, which is an all-round magazine, you can say, which gives contents on different aspects of life. Okay. And India Today has been doing something very interesting for some time. I think India Today as well as probably Week also, for quite some time, I think 10-12 years earlier, since they are publishing rankings of prominent educational institutions in different fields, general, professional, etc., etc. That is also an important aspect. They have some criteria for selecting, for nominating those things, but more or less, I think people can take it as a guide for going for higher education. Week also gives normal contents of everyday life, which are not applicable, which are appealing to normal day-to-day events or our general ways of life. Okay. So in Assamese we have Prantik, Prokak, Goryoki, etc. Goryoki was basically a magazine for development of Assamese language and literature, published by the Tribune Group. Prantik has completed probably 35 years or 40 years so far. That is also a big issue, big event. I mean, it is a general content magazine. Yeah, there are quite a few others, and newspapers do have a target audience. Magazines also do have a very specific target audience. Okay, or you can say niche audience. Now, say you have on a lighter side, Filmfare, Femina, Solita in Hindi, etc. And Reader's Digest is also there. Reader's Digest is a very prominent magazine. They do cater to different segments of the general society or target audience, and accordingly their contents also do differ. Okay, keep that in mind. There's another one which do not come under normal magazine, that is house journals, or you can say in-house journals. House journals, or rather you can say in-house journal. Okay, in-house journals. Now, what is an in-house journal? This is more applicable for public relations or corporate communications, public relations basically. That is, an in-house journal is a publication of the organization which is supposed to be not a normal newspaper journal or newspaper magazine. I mean, news journal or news magazine, but it is a news, no doubt, but not news for everyday everyone's consumption. It is a news about that organization's activities. Fine. The basic thing is that probably in your public relations, I think I don't know whether you have public relations paper in first semester, 2 semesters. In public relations, there are two kinds of publics basically. One is the external public, one is the internal public. Internal public is the public or people who are whom you can find within the organization. Fine. Say for example, in Tezpur University, if we say that when we say about internal public, then students, teaching faculty, their family members, as well as the non-teaching employees, all of them are the Tezpur University publics, internal public. But external publics, the parents of students, the educational planners, regulators, government, society in general, or those people who are would-be guardians of students of us. Say in future, many students will keep coming to our university for admission. So those potential people will also be our external public. Similarly, for we have this Numaligarh refinery. For them, their internal public will be their employees, and for the external public will be the general public outside, where their working offices are working, functions, and their functioning activities are happening. And particularly big organizations like not exactly big organizations, but those organizations which involve a lot of public dealings. Say for example, banks, any kind of banks, then you can say oil and gas organizations, where they have to extract oil and gas from many areas where the public is there. I mean, a lot of people, sometimes you have to move people to take out oil, and when you are laying the pipeline, you have to displace a lot of people, hydroelectric projects, etc., for which also many times they have to displace a lot of people. Fine. For them, external public is very important. I mean, for everyone it is important, but for those people it is much more important. Okay. For them, everyone likes to see his name in print. For example, time to time we publish a newsletter, and in which we also ask students if you have anything worth within a certain criteria to report. Fine. That is an encouragement for the in-house person. Fine. That my organization is doing so much of activities. It is in a way keeping in touch with your family members. I mean, it's a big family. Otherwise, it's not possible to keep in touch with each and every one of the family by person, okay, individually, physically. So, an in-house journal is an account of what are things going on in your organization. Of course, the positive ones, for the benefit of the internal people as well as other people. People also should be knowing that they have a right to know what is going on, because we are public institutions, publicly funded institutions. Now, there's another slightly different magazine or journal, you can say, that is, it's not exactly a house journal, or it's not exactly a normal magazine. You can say it's a niche journal, or give any name, but the basic idea is that suppose you are traveling through an airline. Basically, most internal most common example is from airline companies usually. Suppose if you are traveling by Air India or Go Air, Sweet, Sahara, etc. Sahara is not there, I think, but now any flying company, aeroplane company. Okay. Usually, when you board the plane, they keep a very nice magazine in front of your seat, or sometimes in your seat. But sometimes they do give a newspaper also, but it's not always given. But usually, that magazine is there. Fine. That magazine is actually their own publication, which speaks about how their organization is functioning, what are the advantages, and if it is an airline company, their schedule, and if they're going to announce something very soon, that is also there, and few articles, usually travel stories. But if it is an airline company, it is usually travel stories. In fact, I remember once I read a travel story about Kaziranga in probably Go Air or Indigo's magazine. Okay, that is for not for public distribution, but it is basically for the employee, not for employees, not for the passengers or the customers whom they serve. Okay, so that you see, when you see a good magazine, when you see a good cinema, when you see a good newspaper, you feel good. You like to read it, and that is an advertising campaign actually, publicity as well as advertising campaign for you. More of a publicity than advertising campaign. If you see very glossy magazines with nice articles about various places of tourist interest, and long means a desire is created in your mind to go for such a lifestyle, go for such that travel to visit the place on tourism purpose, and the tagline is there that we are connecting all these exclusive tourist important places of tourist important with our airplane. And again, nowadays, as you know, many of the airlines houses also team up with the American Alliance with business partnership with travel companies, and by which if you are visiting any place either on business or on tourism purposes, you don't need to go to the hassle of booking hotels after landing at the place. The travel airline company, if you tell the airline company, they will themselves take care of it. Your accommodation, airport to hotel, travel and back, and if you want to go for sightseeing or if you want to go for a business meeting, transport of vehicle will also be provided, etc. So that is, you can say, the Nitsey magazines, which are basically publicity tools for those organizations. But this is also a important aspect, important area for employment, okay, or freelance writing also. Earlier we used to have see Air India's magazines. I think I forgot the name. It used to be quite good. Similarly, Delhi once, I think, while this service is mostly with airline companies, which I have seen, but even a shipping company, luxury cruise liner, or say now private rail companies are also coming up. They might also be in future having such magazines or journals for the benefit of their passengers. I mean, customers. Benefit means it is actually their interest, but passengers are, the customers are getting a copy of it. Okay. And next time when you will like to buy the product, or when you would like to visit the place, the name of this airline company will spring to your mind. Okay. So that is the idea of these Nitsey magazines, which are basically publicity tools, but that is also a good employment generation activity. In-house journals, I have told you, many of them, there is the Public Relations Society of India, they do organize the in-house journal competition also. And the Guwahati PRSI has got several prizes, these prizes several times at the all India level. Okay. Now, uh, for example, a when you were giving, you see, in USA, newspapers, hard copy newspapers, paper newspapers, they run up to sometimes 40, 50, 60 pages. But almost 50 or more than 50% of that amount also is also actually dedicated for advertisements. Okay, local advertisements, big advertisements, non-local advertisements, etc. And they do have so much of things to say that it goes to 30, 40 pages. Sometimes, on weekends, etc., it goes much more, in fact. Even that way, there are so many things which are competing for attention in a daily newspaper. You hardly have space for giving detailed analysis of anything. For example, nowadays coronavirus is having so much of attention all over the world, and even including us. There have been a lot of information, counter information coming up. Of late, last few days, we are hearing that the Covaxin vaccine, which was given, even I have taken Covaxin, fine. Few countries probably are saying that WHO, World Health Organization, has not yet given proper recognition to Covaxin. And in today's newspaper, I have read that Covaxin is the medicine company which has developed Covaxin. They're saying that we are supplying all the papers to World Health Organization so that they should be giving us recognition very soon. Now, what is the difference? How can we know the difference, if there is any difference, between Covaxin, Covishield, or the Russian vaccine Sputnik, which are being used for as say preventive for COVID-19. Okay. In that case, you have to look for experts. Okay. Experts, probably I have told you earlier about health communication. In USA, there is an organization called Center for Disease Control. Fine. This happens to be very reputed one. Okay. Now, suppose you have to take, if you have to start a debate, or if you have to give some information about medicine, then it is better that you take an opinion from this organization. Or if this organization has already given an opinion about something, that should be quite important. Then if it comes to our country, you have to take opinion of Indian Council of Medical Research, which is the highest body of medical research in India. Okay, any kind of medical research in our country. Then again, there is another organization called Drugs Controller General of India, I think DCGI. That organization controls each and every medicine which is available in our country. Fine. Say for example, without their approval, no medicine, I repeat, any kind of medicine, any kind of medicine has to have to be approved by DCGI, Drugs Controller General of India, before it can be officially marketed in India. Somebody can do it in a black market, but it will be punished if it is found out. Then again, recently Ramdev has created some controversy saying that allopathy is not up to the mark or something like that. I have not read his remark, but even today I read that the central government's health minister Harshvardhan has also criticized Ramdev for giving such a statement. Okay. Now, if you want to tell people which is good and which is correct, which is incorrect, and what can be an alternative, then you have to bring opinions from all these people, or you can even bring opinion from the director of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Now there are around 12 or so such medical AIIMS centers are there all over the country. But if you take the opinion of the director of AIIMS Delhi, that will be the best. Fine. Now that is why you need a space, you need a magazine for giving you a lot of space to give you positive, negative, neutral things about anything, not necessarily about the medicine, but also about what can be an alternative to all these developments. Okay, that is why the importance of magazine is so much more than daily news. I mean, it's not that. Sorry, I put it in a different way. Let me put it in a different way. Newspapers, dailies, weeklies, fortnightlies, they do have their importance, no doubt. But each and every entity, each and every medium has also its has its own importance in its own area. While dailies are so important to keep us informed about everything which is happening all over the world, the magazines are important for giving us an in-depth analysis of whatever is happening and how is it going to impact us or influence us in the next coming 1 decade or 2 decade or in future. So that is why writing for magazines has to be analytical. You have to take like normal journalistic practices. You have to take opinions from all the sides involved so that you can give a balanced judgment or balanced content for the benefit of your readers. Okay. Otherwise, you will not be doing a proper service to your readers. And again, anything important which might come up in coming days or which may have happened right now is the duty of the magazine as a public entity to inform the people whatever is happening. Okay. And like newspapers or any other issues, there are some magazines or journals which are the last words in the particular field, whatever is happening in that particular field all over the world. There is a journal, I don't know whether you can call it a magazine or a journal. There's something called Jane's Defense Weekly. Sorry, I don't have space to write here. Jane's, Gane, I think. Jane's Defense Weekly. Jane's Defense Weekly. This weekly gives you all the latest important developments in the field of defense mechanisms, big weapons, then say any particular country's defense forces acquiring something important or some major developments in arms and ammunition or defense systems, etc. Those things which can be, of course, made public. Okay, not everything can be made public, of course. So, if you have to know, for a general person, if you have to know what is happening in the defense equipment sector, I think this is the last resort. I mean, this is the ultimate resort. You can have a very good idea about anything. Then we have a magazine called the Far Eastern Economic Review, which is very prestigious, and as the name suggests, it analyzes or reviews the economic scenario of the Far Eastern countries, Southeast, Far East, etc. Okay. Mainly for the ASEAN region. So that's why usually dailies are general. We have sports dailies, we have financial dailies, but otherwise sports dailies are very less. But usually even general dailies are dailies also do news about, good contents about financial issues, stocks and equities and sports also. But on the other hand, uh, usually magazines are quite specialized. Fine. Even though I have told you about, I mentioned about India Today, Outlook, Week, etc., they also do have their own preferred areas. Even though while they take up any subject of human consumption, many a times it seems that they do have their preferential areas for taking up certain issues. Uh, Even I remember many years back while we were in college or university, India Today was at its peak those days. Even now it is quite popular, but those days I think Outlook was also not there or Week was also not there. India Today once gave a very detailed content or I mean analysis about how the male beauty industry was growing up all over the country, including Delhi. And as it is based in Delhi, Delhi used to feature more. Right? Then, when it came out, I was a bit surprised that why should a magazine give such big prominence to something which I personally feel that was a bit not worth of that much interest. But anyway, probably they felt that people might have liked it and that is why they have given it. And then time to time, once another issue I remember, I think that came about 8-10 years back. I think that was in India Today or India Today probably. And that issue talked about physical relationship between working people, working professionals in metropolitan cities, okay, all over the country. And I still remember it. I have not read the issue, but I still remember it because as part of the thing, it has said something which was something about Guwahati city, which was found to be offensive by many people, and a lot of protests were held. Okay, so even though magazines should be talking about each and every aspect of life, it's up to them how to go about, or it is up to the public how they should allow or guide magazines to go about. Fine. So let us stop here today. We'll be meeting soon, very in the next few days or so. Thank you very much.